Kind of rude. Good morning, YouTube. Oh God,
Let me sit
Jeepy's
up.
back
I
in
look a little bit
school.
more professional.
Yeah, that's great. Hey, we always do a little catching up. Nothing crazy. Can no longer say the opening phrase, and it's fine. We can still go with the opening sound effect. What's up? Come on. No free ads, but except to those guys. Wouldn't hate
They
that.
need 'em. They need
Wouldn't
all
hate
the help
that.
they can get.
I mean, that'd be like early retirement for me if I could get that deal signed early. Oh me. Send
Well,
the send the weekly tweet.
lead us in, Bubba.
Hey, we did a little catching up off camera. I feel like we do that often. We should probably get a little better at it. Maybe just hop in, hit record. But there are some things said that maybe shouldn't be said. But G, head soccer coach, high school teacher, he's here, top left corner on my screen. Not really sure where you're seeing him.
I think
This
I'm
guy,
up left everywhere.
students are back in school for this guy tomorrow. So, lesson plans, he's dialed in. Z Dog, thoughts and prayers with him catching a flight to Pittsburgh tomorrow. Grandmother passed. It's been a year for the dudes, left and right, it seems like. But hey, we come here, we open up, we get a little hour with the dudes, we chop it up, we get to be guys. Football's close, fellas. How we feeling?
It is
I'm
close.
excited, man. I
We're,
can't wait.
I
Can't
think,
wait.
25 days from week zero, that is. Hey, we got a preseason game tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And if you don't think I'm glued in, I mean, I am locked. I don't care if it's flag football. I just need something.
Flag.
Today, this week, we got over under win totals college football. That's what we're going with. Before I jump the gun for the guys with Spotify or Apple, Jiffy, they can't wait any longer. Spin the track.
That was
YouTube gets that
beautiful.
little pause. I kind of hate that YouTube doesn't get that song.
I'll go
That's
check
tough,
it
man.
out.
That's tough. Yeah. Hey, if you watch on YouTube, guess what? Watch it on YouTube muted, and then go to Spotify and listen tomorrow. All right, how's that for? Get the views up. We need it. Subscribe. Do it all.
That's nice.
I picked three. All right, I picked three win totals. Let's roll into it. We do got a little questions at the end. We racked up a few questions on via the Twitter or via X now.
Oh
Excuse me.
yeah. I do have some from last week as well that we did not
Seen,
answer.
I seen that. Don't let me forget after we talk win totals.
Okay.
Um, One quick subject I want to hit on before we jump into win totals. I don't know how active y'all have been on X today. Z, you been seeing this gambling situation going on with college athletes?
Yeah, at Iowa State, I saw that one.
And it's domino. And I get it, like you just can't do it. Like you're playing in it, it'll never be legal. Not while you're in the game, I don't think. But I'm a little psyched out about how they're figuring out about these things.
Yeah, I don't have no idea how
I
they're
get the
finding.
IP address and stuff like that, and one guy used his mom's name. Like, I mean, that part's ignorant. But I don't know because this thing is going to spiral, and there's no telling how many names are going to come out. I feel like. Oh, yeah. Win totals. Let's do it. I'm leading it off. I'm going to conference. I don't go often. The Big Ten. Okay, I got the Badgers. I don't know if anyone else caught the radar. I'm going Wisconsin over 8.5, minus 135, as most of these over unders are going to be a hair juice, nothing crazy. I got their schedule broken down. We got Buffalo for sure win. Georgia Southern give me a win. At Purdue, they lose Aiden O'Connell. I'm racking that one a win. We got Rutgers win, Indiana win, Northwestern win, Nebraska win. I'm at 7. All right, not exactly where you want to be. I need 2 more. But on the bright side, I think there's one for sure L. All right, that's Ohio State. They don't play Michigan. Okay, they play a Minnesota team that I think is a big time toss up. They lose a ton of production. Minnesota was my team last year, early over under. Minnesota loses quarterback, running back, 2 6-year guys. I mean, I don't know. I think their production, losing as much as they did, I like to give Wisconsin against Minnesota. The other toss ups, Washington State and Iowa. Those two are big ones to me. I think Washington State's week 2. If you can get that one, I think you're in a good spot. I love it. I think we touched base a little bit with Braylon Allen. I don't remember if it was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, something like that. Hell of a running back. And then they pick up Tanner Mordecai from SMU, who I loved last year. Now, I mean, he is going to the Big Ten, which is nothing crazy when you're not talking Michigan, Ohio State, or Penn State. So yeah, I think Tanner Mordecai with Wisconsin. I don't know. I think they can get. I think they can do 9. I don't think you're going to shatter it. We're not looking at no Wisconsin 10-2 here, but I love Wisconsin at 9-3. I love them at 9-3 a lot more than 8-4. Luke Fickell first year. I don't know. Talk to me, Z. What are we feeling on Wisconsin?
No, I like Wisconsin. That's one that I saw too. I think they can hit the win total. They're going to be a gritty Big Ten type of Wisconsin team that they usually are. They're going to have a good line offensively. They're going to be able to run the football. So there's a few toss-ups in there, but that's why these win totals, when it comes down to the end of the year, 95% of the time, it's like, damn, Vegas was right. It's that one game here or there, or they hit it on the hook. So yeah, I like Wisconsin.
Yeah, and I have 4 toss-ups on here. I got, like I said, Washington State, Iowa, Illinois, and Minnesota. 4 toss-ups. I only need 2 of them. I don't hate that. It's not like I'm asking for 3 and 1 in the toss-ups. The one guaranteed to Ohio State. But the other ones I guaranteed win. I mean, I like them a lot. I went through some of their win totals. I think the highest one was maybe 5.5 with Purdue. And like I said, losing Aiden O'Connell, I think Purdue takes a step back very quick. But then you got you got Northwestern and Rutgers who are like 2.5, 3. So I love those. And then, like I said, or I didn't mention this, receiver, 4-star CJ Williams out of USC transferred in. So I think the offense with Mordecai, him, Braylon Allen back, returning receiver Tremere Dyke, who was already there last year. I mean, I think the offense is there. It's going to be a matter of, can the defense hold up? And I dug into it some. They lose a few guys, but still were a top 12 defense last year as far as total D goes. Pretty balanced in the portal as far as defense goes. Got a few guys, lost a few guys. Nothing crazy. And I think my biggest deal about their defense being a question mark for me was Luke Fickell brings his DC, Mike Tressel from Cincinnati. And, I mean, we saw what their defense did, right? They hung with Bama. They got beat when they made the playoff, but didn't necessarily just give up a ton of points. They just really couldn't move the football on Alabama. So, I don't know. Returning the 2 leading tacklers and bringing in that DC from Cincy, I can trust it a hair. I'm not too scared about it. And like I said, I love Mordecai from SMU, and I think the offense is going to be firing. So the more I sit here and talk about it, the more I like it, for being honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm starting to like it too.
I think writing it down, I'm jotting down things, but once you put it all together and read it together, I kind of love the shit out of it. Z-Dog, go ahead and drill me with one.
All right. I'll start with my first one. This one kind of jumped out at me. Washington Huskies. Win total sitting at 9.5. I'm going under.
Z, pause for the YouTube guys. I got scared which way you were going to go there. I got a little nervous. I was like, man, if this guy goes over, I'm going to have to audible.
Yeah, that one really jumped out at me. I have it at -145. I mean, that's a Washington Huskies team winning 10 games. I have them just first glance, just looking at the schedule. I have them going 7-5. They'll beat Boise State. They'll beat Tulsa. I think they lose at Michigan State. I think that's a tough game for them. Michigan State's a well-coached team. They're going to be ready to go. They'll beat Cal. They'll beat Arizona. And then you get into this stretch in October where you get Oregon. That's a loss. Arizona State, they should beat them. And then they travel to Stanford. I think Stanford's going to be a pretty good football team this year. They're not just going to be someone that's going to be, walked over. So I think that's a 50-50 game. That may be the one where it's 7-5 or 8-6. I just can't see them getting to 10. And then they go to USC. That's a loss. Utah is going to be good with Cam Rising coming back. That's a loss. Oregon State, they should win. Then you get the rivalry game against Washington State, where those are 50-50 or 60-40 games. So, I mean, I think if you look at it, the best, absolute best is 9 wins. I just can't see them getting to 10. I think it's going to be right there, but I think it's going to be closer to 7-5 or 8-4.
Yeah, and like you said, they go 10-2 last year, and I got on here 3 of those wins, one possession games.
Yeah.
And we're talking one possession against Cal, who was nothing to write about last year. Oregon, good football team, that's fine. They lose to them by one possession. And then Oregon State, who this year everyone is on them, and I can see it. I'm not as high, but definitely took steps forward, and they beat them by I think it was 3 or 4. And then the other
this year it's
I
at
got,
Oregon State. So I mean,
Yeah.
if Oregon State's playing good football, I mean that's the second last game of the year. If they're playing good football, you got to travel in there, maybe throw it, 5 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Eastern type kick. Anything can happen.
Yeah, and how you pointed out that Stanford, even if Stanford's not a great football team, you happen to catch them probably in the worst spot on their schedule. I'd say before that USC game, who we know USC is going to be stout.
Look ahead game.
Right. So we know that. And then the other note I had on here is, this year they've got Oregon and USC. So there's our 2, we would think. Well, then the other problem is they got Utah this year. They didn't even play last year. So, I mean, the schedule looks to be a hair tougher. They go 10-2 last year. Obviously, Michael Penix finished top 10 in the Heisman last year. Leading receivers back. So those are 2 notes that are positive for Washington. But, last year was really the first year Penix proved he could do it for 12 games in the football season. They had a hell of a year, not taking anything away from him. But like Z said, I think for sure, you get Oregon at home, sure, but I think Bo Nix and Oregon are going to be rolling and really trying to, push for a playoff spot in their locker room. That's what they're thinking about. USC, those 2 are guaranteed, but you got to toss up with Utah, add Oregon State, and even Z gave them Boise State, but Boise State's got a win total at 8. So, I mean, not a bad football team there, according to Vegas. As far as promising to bet in the under of 9.5, they lose 2 of their top 3 tacklers, and they finished 100th in pass defense. Okay, and what that means, not only is it bad, but like we said, you're facing Bo Nix at Oregon. You're facing Caleb Williams at USC. You're facing Cam Rising at Utah. Okay, so some good quarterback play on the West Coast this year doesn't exactly add up too well for a team that's, to put it fair, dog shit and guarding the pass. Jeefy, what do we think of West Coast football this year? It's gonna be some late nights.
It's gonna be gunslinging. It's gonna be late night. I've got acclimated to watching the Angels now late at night, so I'll probably catch a lot more Pacific football out there on the West
I'm gonna
Coast.
keep you up. I'm gonna keep you up with me.
Yeah, we'll be fine. I'm sure Kohi will be texting me after he's had a few of those blue cans and he's putting money on a game that I would say he knows nothing about. He's going to know something about it, but surely that I won't know anything about.
A West Coast late nighter I had no business betting on.
Absolutely.
We'll keep it sweet.
And we know it's coming, and
Yeah.
I'll dive into one if you don't mind.
Yeah, really. Give it to me.
And this is one that I'll announce when Z gets back. But this is a team that you're really high on, and I think they're going to underachieve.
I know where he's going.
This is Florida State.
Yeah, I knew where he's going.
Yeah, Vegas has got them at 10 on the over/under. At least at the sportsbook that I saw, I think it was at MGM.
I think that's a good number.
I've got them under. I think that they're going to improve, definitely. But looking at their schedule, I think LSU is a loss. I think that, I mean, I've said this the last 2 podcasts we've had. I think LSU is going to overachieve what they already are. Now, I think they're sitting at 9.5, but they're in the SEC West. So you never know what's going to happen with them. Even a projected good team, they can lose 4 games and still be like, man, we're a really good team. We just had to play Alabama, had to play a tough, gritty Ole Miss or Mississippi State game, Auburn, Arkansas. We don't know what kind of injuries are going to happen, all that stuff. So for them, it's hard for me to say over 9.5 or under. But going back to Florida State, I think they lose that first LSU game because everybody's going to be healthy. Then they go to Southern Miss, or they're playing Southern Miss. They might be at home. I just wrote down the team names. I think they win that. I think they beat Boston College, but I think they lose to Clemson.
Right.
And so if I'm going to give Clemson that win, they're already sitting at 10. And then you've seen previous ACC teams have real trouble, like really good teams. That year that Clemson went to the national championship, they lost a stupid game against Pittsburgh by a field goal, I think 3 years ago. So I've got them. I've got question marks by Wake, Pitt. Miami's seriously been underperforming, even though we used to love the U, love repping them. I just, they haven't been much.
Hard to get behind them.
And then it's kind of the same thing as an Ole Miss, Mississippi State, South Carolina, Clemson, Michigan, Ohio State. They go into Florida and play Florida. You never know who's going to win that game, regardless. 'Cause we saw Florida was terrible last year. Florida State had a really good and promising second half of the year, and they only beat them by, I think it was 45-38. I think is the right score.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not a nail biter or anything, but you gave up 38 points to a team that struggled on offense all year. So, I like Norvell. I think he's a good coach. I definitely think he's a great American Athletic Conference coach. And I think, like you've said before, I think if they give him time, he's going to flourish. But I don't think that this is the year that they're all the way back. I think that they have one, maybe another one developing year, and then we can see, okay, is he back or not? But this year,
Yeah.
I don't think it's that year.
And I've got to defend my Florida State. I'm not a fan, but I am high on them this year. And I'll say,
if I said anything stupid, please let me know as well.
No, and I think, and I mean, those are all like you said, they're we're not saying State and Ole Miss are our team, so it's easy to compare. But it's that question mark you're always going to put beside Auburn or Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't really guarantee yourself a win. So definitely Florida State on paper and going into the year should take care of those teams, but I've seen it at 9.5 and 10, but either way, it's at that number because and this goes for both teams. LSU and Florida State, one of them's going to hit the over win total. It's probably going to be the winner of that game. Like that game is just on paper, Florida State, the only other one you maybe give them a loss guaranteed, and I really don't even think you can guarantee it, but the Clemson game. So the biggest one is to set the tone is week one, and that's a weird one to bet against because then you're either, you feel great for the rest of the year probably if you win it, but if you lose that one,
yeah,
you're almost like, okay, we got to do some stuff we probably weren't supposed to do to hit. So yeah. I don't hate the under there. If it 9.5, I definitely don't love. But at 10, I mean, you could put even with 10 and 2, you're pushing. I don't hate that, but I got to defend them just because I'm very high on them. But
yeah,
I don't hate that one. I don't hate it at all. Like you said, the ACC, it can get weird with the Wake, the Pitt, the games in between. I think the thing that hurts Florida State, and maybe it could help you if you take this bet, is the fact they have LSU and Clemson within the first 4 weeks. So
yeah,
that's a lot of pressure, but hey, that's why you play the games.
That's right.
Z-Dog, bag acquired.
Bag acquired.
That baby.
Uber Eats there.
Had to take a little break. You want me to jump into my second one?
Yeah, roll with it.
All right. I'm gonna leave my favorite one for last. So I'll go. I have a couple honorable mentions too, but I'm gonna go South Carolina over 6.
This guy, man, if you're watching on YouTube, you're getting a fucking clinic. I mean, let's chop it up. No, I mean, hey, we didn't mean for it to be a short episode, but when this brain just starts going back and forth and the energy's there, we're just going to have to chop it. And all this means is that South Carolina over 6 and Washington under 9.5 is an absolute lock, is all this means.
Yeah, brains are working here. But yeah, I like South Carolina a lot. I think Spencer Rattler's going to have a breakout year. Yeah, I've been high on Spencer Rattler since he came out of high school. So there's no reason for me to turn back now. I think they've added a lot of talent from whether that be high school or the transfer portal. And they're extremely well coached. They got a hard test, week 1 night game against North Carolina. And either in the last podcast or the one before that, I was high on South Carolina as a dark horse there, but That's just going to be a battle of, I think that's going to be a big scoring type game, I think. So it's going to be who can play a little better defense. I think South Carolina's going to have the more talented defense. And then it's just, is Drake made the real deal and just picks them apart? Or are we seeing, a Spencer Rattler who's finally figured it out? He feels comfortable. He's put on some size. He likes his scheme. So we'll see. But that's just a toss-up game there. So we'll throw game one to North Carolina. Then they'll beat Furman. They'll lose to Georgia. They should beat Mississippi State. I don't think Mississippi State's going to be very talented, but
Jesus Christ.
a hot topic on this channel. But
Yeah.
I'm going to give that one to South Carolina. So you're going to Tennessee on September 30th at 2-2. I think you lose there. You're 2-3. Florida's going to suck. They're 2-3 years away, in my opinion. So 3-3, beat Missouri. You're 4-3. Texas A&M's going to have a down year. They had a lot of kids transfer out. A lot of those new kids were, I think, getting promised a lot of things coming in to commit there to Jimbo, and it kind of didn't work out the way they thought. So I got them beating Texas A&M there. So you're what, 5-3?
Yeah.
Jacksonville State 6-3, Vandy 7-3, Kentucky. I mean, you've already hit it,
Yeah.
You've hit it right there. You shouldn't lose to Vanderbilt, Jackson State. I mean, A&M, there's a couple toss-ups there, but I think you can get 7 games with losing to North Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, and even Clemson and Kentucky. You're still getting 7.
And that's the way, when I looked at it, I circled, you got 3 for sure L's on the schedule. That's it. And to be 6 is, I mean, and there's not that many toss-ups. And this was me being generous on the toss-ups just for, which everyone knows you're betting the over. If you think they could beat them, but it's not guaranteed, let's just toss it up for the sake of doing it, right? So UNC, I think, is a toss-up. I think State's a toss-up. I think at A&M's a toss-up. I think Kentucky's a toss-up. Even with those, you're still giving them 5 wins. So you need 1 out of 4 to push, to not lose your money. So
exactly.
I
think that's really low. I
looked around. I thought
like 7.5.
That's what so I started looking at different books, and everywhere, I think at most I saw 6.5, and then you got the plus money. So
yeah, mine's over 6 at -130.
Yeah, mine's over 6 at -120. But I mean, the thing is, it feels like South Carolina got better, right? Like the energy and how Rattler ended that stretch, the Tennessee game, stuff like that. They went 8-4 last year, and now it's at 6. And I don't know. The leading receiver's back, Rattler's back. I got on here too. The 4 L's from last year, they gave up 44, 48, 38, and 23. So I mean, 2 games, the defense just comes to play a little bit and doesn't give up 40. I mean, they're looking at maybe a 9-3, 10-2 last year. Like, they had the talent's there. The recruiting train's rolling for Beamer now. The momentum's rolling from last year. A lot of talk going on. I don't know. I feel like South Carolina, if South Carolina goes 6-6 this year, I mean, I'll just be in awe. I really will. And literally, like we said, for the sake of the activity, even if you have them lose and say it's 2 you don't even like early in the season, if they start 1-4, they can still get this thing. That's giving them an L to UNC and State, and then obviously Georgia and Tennessee. They start 1-4, they still the back half. Florida, not good. At Mizzou, even if they're scrappy, they should win it. At A&M, who knows what they're going to be, but proved us last year. We'd be giving them the benefit of the doubt to say they're going to for sure beat South Carolina. You got them. You got Jacksonville State. You got Vandy. You got a Kentucky who lost Tom Brady, Will Levis. And then you got Clemson, right? And, I mean, honestly, if South Carolina's rolling, who's to say they can't pick off that ACC? And it's a rival, and they get them at home. That's a big-time game. So, I mean, the back – not even the back half, the back 7. The last 7 games are very, very favorable. And the fact that they ended so hot last year, who knows if they don't get 12 quarters under their belt, and next thing you know, we see a different team just like we did last year towards the end. So, I don't know. It's crazy. Picked up a couple portal guys. I put down SEC guys too, a 4-star tight end Troy Knox from Arkansas, and then a 4-star DN Jaron Willis from Ole Miss. So got a couple guys, 30th in the portal. Added some guys, of course, lost some guys as well. But I don't know. I just can't. When I saw it, I honestly thought, okay, the site I'm on doing win totals, this is like maybe I'm on last year's site. Like this isn't right. Can't not to go 8-4 last year and then predict them to almost even money to make a bowl game. I can't figure it out. But that's Vegas. Now it almost makes you a little scared that it jumps out so much. That's the only 3 I got though. Z, I mean, just took it right off my paper.
I got 2 more if you guys wanna talk about it.
Yeah, give us one.
This one's a bigger name. I guess I got 2 bigger names and one used to be big name. This one's Auburn. They're at 6.5. I got them over.
Likes it over.
As a former Hugh Freeze fan, former fan of the team that he was coaching, I know that guy's a great coach. And now I guess the escorts aren't legal, but the paying players is now legal. So
what state you're in.
Good for him. And so I'll just go over the schedule fast. UMass win. Cal, I have that as a maybe, but I think they win. Samford win. Like Z said earlier, I think A&M's going to be down. That's a win. Georgia, a loss. We're through the first 5 games and they already have 4 wins. So they need 3 maybes in a beat-up SEC West. That's going to be beat up. I think they play Ole Miss and MSU back-to-back. I think they win one of those. Bubba, I think you can speak to that. One of us
They get
loses
them
Auburn every
both at home too.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I think that's Vandy. They win against Vandy. Then they got Arkansas and New Mexico State. We all know how Arkansas is when they're supposed to be good. They're very mediocre. No offense to any Arkansas fans, but I just think that like KJ Jefferson's going to do the same thing he did last year. He's going to get all this preseason hype. Now I'm not saying he's not a great athlete. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to get drafted or anything like that, but he just can't pass the ball. And in the SEC West, you have to be able to pass the ball. So that's if we're going with, I mean, I'm being generous a lot of times. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wins, and that's giving them 1 toss-up. And
I don't hate it. I think
again, that's giving them an L against Arkansas. And I think that they win that game, possibly.
So look, I don't think that's a bad thought at all. I'm not going to bet it personally, just because.
Yeah,
I am like, it seems tight, and I do like Auburn. So it's just kind of.
you guys came with
You just kind of know what they're going to do. Yeah, you got Hugh Freeze, new coaching staff. You have a quarterback problem. You've lost some guys here and there. I think the only thing you got here is you don't really know what the hell they're going to be.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
they got the talent. I mean, they're a top 4 recruiter, top 5 recruiter in the SEC. They're going to get talent. They're going to be extremely fast, strong, and physical. Cal should be a win. The only reason I think it's a toss-up is because they have to travel to Cal. And that's just
change those time zones up, baby.
They'll beat Ole Miss or Mississippi State, one of the two. I think they win one of those. Probably Mississippi State, no disrespect.
That's a fucking
no way.
Vandy, they should win, but Vandy's not as bad as they used to be.
Yeah.
Arkansas, you never know, as long as they can stop the run. It's just, are they going to be able to score points is what it's going to come down to. I think their defense will have enough talent on it just from guys they recruit and who they brought in. They'll be able to play, average defense. But, I mean, dude, nowadays you got to be able to sling it. And I just don't know if this first year within Hugh Freeze and his system, if it's going to gel right away. But, hey, you never know. It might. So, I think that's I think the number's there, though, 6.5. I think it's a 6 to 8 win team.
It's a good number for a first year Hugh Freeze.
They could, being Auburn with Hugh Freeze and having some talent and stuff like that, I could see 5 and 7. I could see 8 and 4.
Yeah.
Like there's no telling what could, but.
And I don't. The crazy thing is for Auburn, like this is a team that we're used to seeing up in the 8 and 9 wins and maybe not even being a successful year, but as crazy as it sounds, I think 5-7, Auburn fans are like, okay, at least we're making some type of progress.
Yeah, with that non-con
If
schedule,
if you see good play, like when there's losing seasons that you're satisfied with,
yeah,
there's losing seasons where you're like, okay, we've been doing this for a while. With a new system, I think if they have shining moments, they're still happy. That has nothing to do with win totals, but
yeah.
you know what
No,
I
I
mean.
can see it going either way, and I think
Yeah.
that's Auburn. I mean, they're one of those teams that have so much money and they got a good coach. They might turn it around like that, or it might, it might be a year or two away. Now, I mean, his recruiting train's already rolling, so
Yeah.
I think they're definitely a couple of years away as long as the Auburn boosters don't run him out too early.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well,
And
I'll jump into my third one.
go ahead, Zeke.
I feel like this is a popular pick around just like your average Joe gambler or someone who just kind of, something like that. But I'm gonna go Colorado over 3.5 at plus 130. Look, 3.5 is low, man. I mean, you're just asking these guys to win 4 games. You have the best player in the Pac-12 in Travis Hunter, one of the best players in college football. Um, and then you got a top 4 quarterback in the Pac-12 and Shadur Sanders. I mean, you got Caleb Williams, obviously, is the top dog in that conference and in all of football. Bo Nix, he's going to have a good year, I think. Cam Rising's good. I mean, they have good quarterbacks, but Shadur Sanders is a dog. I mean, he's a real deal. Yeah, he put up huge numbers in the HBCU, but I mean, he was a Florida Atlantic commit. He's gotten a lot better. He's gotten a lot bigger. Um, and I know I already hit it, right off the bat, but I mean, Travis Hunter is one of the best players in college football. I mean, this dude is a freak on both sides of the ball. Dion said he's going to play both sides of the ball. I mean, Dion, he kind of came in and ran this like a professional organization, was just cutting dudes. Like, look, you ain't playing here. He hammered the transfer portal, and he sold guys on who he is and what he's done, and who wouldn't want to go play for Dion, especially on a defensive side of the football. They're going to have. I mean, and this isn't the SEC. This is Pac-12, so they're not going to be going up against the top dogs every single week in conference. They got to open up at TCU. They're going to lose that game, and I think there's a chance they could get ran out of the building. But TCU ain't going to be as good as they were last year. So that I think they lose. They follow up with Nebraska at home. I think Nebraska is going to be pretty good. So we'll just for the sake of the argument, for them to get 4 wins, we'll say they're 0-2. They'll beat Colorado State, so they're 1-2. They'll lose to Oregon. They'll lose USC in back-to-back weeks. So they're what, 1-4? They'll go to Arizona State and win. That's 2. They'll go to Stanford, or they'll get Stanford at home and win. That's 3. Now you're 3-4. You need 1 win out of UCLA, Oregon State, Arizona, Washington State, and Utah. And this is a UCLA team without Dorian Thompson-Robinson as well. So quarterback's going to be iffy there. You're going to have a new quarterback in that system. Either Oregon State's going to be as good as everybody think they is, or they're not, and they're going to be sitting there in November, not as good. And then Arizona's not good. Arizona's not a very good football team. So 4 wins, I don't think is that. I mean, they're expecting to come in here and win 7 to 8 games.
Yeah.
That's their expectation. They're extremely talented, and I think they can get 4 wins at the very least.
No, and the more honestly talking about it, and it's not as far, like you said, it's not as far fetched as it seems. I think you've sold me now, and honestly, it'll be a fun one. Like that's a fun one. You get 1 win, you're like, oh boys, we're 25% of the way there. We're chugging, and like you said, Dion's not. Now, Dion knows he's not competing for a fucking title this year, like obviously, but he's not he's a winner's mindset. Like that's how he walks. That's how he carries himself. Everyone knows that. So yeah, he's not expecting to come in here and hey, let's cash his win total and go 4-8. Like no,
No,
they're
I
gonna line up.
think they're talented enough on both sides of the football to be 6-6.
Yeah, like they're gonna
At the
line up and say let's try to get a bowl game. Let's compete for 4 quarters in every single football game. That's gonna be the mindset every week. I don't think there's gonna be, and I think him cleaning house. He's gotten rid of those guys that went 1-11, right? So even that mindset from what they had, or not even the mindset, just the harsh reality that they did go 1-11. I don't think there's a lot of negativity left in that Colorado locker room. So I like it. Need 4 wins.
That's solid.
I
You
like
got another one?
I'm never gonna bet against old Dion, man. Prime time. Yes, I do have one more. Um, I don't know. They're a mainstay as far as the name of their program, but you guys might not know a ton about them. And I just know that they're not supposed to be very good. I think they're supposed to be very average. It's BYU. I like the under on their over under, and it's at 5.5. And that sounds crazy, but their schedule is freaking tough. So I think they start off with 2 wins: Sam Houston, Southern Utah. Okay. I'm not even going to get into wins and losses first, but just listen to the rest of this: Arkansas, Kansas, Cincinnati, TCU, Texas Tech, West Virginia, Iowa State, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State. It's a lot of big names. I
They got
think
Texas too after Texas Tech.
yes. Sorry, I don't know why I only
Yeah,
wrote.
that's a brutal schedule.
Yeah, so I gave them 2 out of 3 of my toss ups, and they're still at 4,
What was it? 5.5.
5.5.
So they got to win 4 out of those 10 you just named. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. So I like that one. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, I like that. Just
I
off the
think one. I
schedule.
think one of those toss-ups they could get is Cincinnati,
Yeah.
because that'll
Uh,
probably be a loud whiteout. It's at home at 10:15 Eastern. But Kansas is supposed to be really good this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave them 2 wins out of Kansas, Cincy, Iowa State, and Arkansas, and they're still at 5. That's
I
at
think they get
5.
one. I think Iowa State beats them too.
Yeah. So
Yeah. No, even naming those 10 games, and like you said, the first 2, they're 2-0, no doubt.
yeah,
But naming those 10 games and having to get 4 of them, I mean, you're almost talking 500 on that record or that team you just named.
yeah,
I like that. We need to get us about 4 or 5 and ride with them and just say, hey, these are our 5 for this year.
Yeah,
Hard-earned cash on them. I'll bet them all.
yeah. I'm gonna definitely place them. I like that BYU one.
I was about to say, I just jotted down BYU. I'm on Colorado. I'm with it. Obviously, South Carolina and Washington. We both had it. That's a sign.
Yeah, that's a
I'm
sign.
gonna go those 4, honestly. What about anybody got any left?
no,
No, I hit.
let's answer them
I hit.
questions,
Yeah,
unless
I'm
he
good.
has one.
Wow.
No, I mean I got like a homer one. It's just Georgia Tech over 4.5. I think we're going to be a lot better. Yeah, we have a quarterback issue, but I think the whole program's mindset has changed with the new coach. And obviously, I'm just a diehard Tech guy. But I mean, Louisville, it's a toss-up game week 1. South Carolina State, you win, you lose to Ole Miss. I say you lose to Wake Forest, you win, you beat Bowling Green, so you're what, 2-3. Miami, Boston College, say you're 3-4. North Carolina, 4-5. And then Virginia, Clemson, Syracuse, and Georgia. I think we could beat Syracuse or Virginia, so you're right there just begging for one more win to get to 5. I'm probably not going to bet it just because Tech will probably, fuck off. But I just 4.5 I thought was a little bit low. 5.5 probably would have been. I think they could make a bowl game. So
That's a little disrespected.
yeah, I do.
Hey,
Now I know how you feel when I've said everybody's
hey,
going to beat
let's
Mississippi State.
let's go Homer. We'll ride out a little Homer segment here. Look,
Hey,
put your 401k, put
I
your
just
dad's truck, put your mother's casket, whatever it is. Put it on State over 6 because it's been 12 years since the Dogs missed a bowl game. I won't even dive in the schedule. 10,000-yard passer returning. I don't care if he threw it 80 times a game. The guy's experience pays off in the SEC. You get the Egg Bowl at home, which is always a toss-up. That's the only one I'll mention. The Dogs are winning. You're at least getting your money back, I promise you. They're at least going 6-6. Out of conference is not good. Arizona is the only one anyone can say anything about, and we already talked. They're not a good football team. The disrespect is absurd. I think we have 21 seniors or super seniors. Okay, we brought in our DC as a head coach. Sure, I get it, but it ain't like our staff almost got better if you want to look into it. Bring Chad Bumpus home. We bring David Turner back. D-line U. Okay, that's all I got. Mississippi State over 6. Take it to the bank.
All right. Well, if you're a State fan, I know you got excited about that right there, but I just wanted to interject after Z was talking. If you don't get fired up about a guy wanting to take his teams over when they haven't had a winning season since 2018, and that winning season was 7-6. That freaking fires me up right there, Z. And he's still on a sports podcast talking about it. If your team lost 6 years in a row, losing seasons, would you still be on this freaking podcast talking about your team? No, you wouldn't. But not everybody can be Austin Zeitler. That guy's a dog. I just want to shout that out real quick because that is freaking – that's impressive.
Rambler Rag, Georgia Tech, baby.
Come on, baby. He's a jacket for life.
Hey, just wait down the road when we hit these NFL totals. I'll get on the Dirty Bird train. I'm gonna ride that bitch with
I
some
won't
storyline.
be as excited and as happy to come to Z's aid when he starts talking about the Falcons. But we'll save that for later.
Fair
I'm
enough.
not gonna get into it. Y'all know if I was a betting man, I'd take that Ole Miss over. I think it's a weird one too. I think it's like 7 or 7.5.
Yeah, it is. I looked at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
7.5, I think.
It's a tough one to
Weird.
Texas.
I think that's the worst number when it comes to college football win total.
Yeah, and the schedule's a lot tougher this year, which I
To
think
get-
we're going to be talented, but you never know.
The difference in 7-5 and 8-4 if you're an SEC team is like you're giving yourself a
Like a
game.
missed field goal.
You're giving yourself a game that in the back of your head you're like, man, we could lose by 40.
Yeah.
We want to roll into some questions, or anybody got any other teams?
No, let's hit them. Let's hit them.
All right, hey, let's roll right
Go ahead and
into it.
get yours, Bubba. I'm going to.
Hey, I'll pull up the 4 from today that we got.
Okay.
Honestly, we'll lead off with one that's pretty absurd, but hey, we respect the guy for commenting. This is Mr. Nick Goyko. Shout out friend of the pod, Twitter friend I actually met. Actually sent me $50 for game of the year last year when it cashed. Hell of a guy. Shout out old. They call him Binky. That's his little handle. I like that. Hawaii's chance at making the college football playoff. Think the Island Boys can go on a run? So we're gonna submit no here, and we're gonna go to the next question. But I had to give him his clout.
Yeah, I ain't wasting my breath on that
I had
one.
to give him his clout.
I
All right,
don't know
next
I don't know
one.
what you're listening to or watching here, but this ain't a comedy segment, brother.
This ain't no fucking hobby, boy.
Goodness, Hawaii. Yeah, maybe if they change the playoff to 50 teams.
Next one. Next
I don't
one.
know. That'd be a tough sell. Even if they
Hey,
change it to
we're
50,
fighting for that.
that'd be a tough sell.
It'd be on the bubble.
This one, handle name at Piss on them. Username Burner. Not sure who it is, but respect to him. Does Auburn have a turnaround season and surprise the West by taking out a few of the big boys? Pretty good question here. G was on him already.
Yeah, not a
Take
bad
Joe
question
G's
at all.
over, baby.
Not a bad question at all. I think it's definitely possible with Hugh Freeze and the talent they're going to have, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I just think they're from making a run in the West and maybe even taking an Iron Bowl. I think they're probably 3 years away from being back to that Auburn that you're excited about coming into the season. And when you're seeing their win total at 9.5, 10, something like that. I think they're a couple years away from that. But look, dude, just like you said a minute ago, SEC, you're going into that week thinking, damn, we could, lose by 30 here, and you're winning by 7, you're winning by 3, So they're going to have talented guys. It's still the SEC, it's still Auburn. So you never know. You never know with a team like that and a coach like that.
And I think as far as how the question's worded, have a turnaround season. Last year they lost a little hope, right? They had Cadillac out there coaching. It was kind of it was a cool story, but like we talked about, these Auburn boosters and stuff, they're ready to get back, like you said, 9.5, 10 win total.
Yeah, it's going to be better than last year.
Yeah, I think they could see some signs
Damn near
turning around.
guarantee it.
Surprise in the West, I don't know if it'll be a huge surprise because they're still named Auburn. But picking off some big boys, I mean, I think there's only 2 teams in the West right now that would confidently be like, we're not going to lose to them. That's Bama and LSU. I think all 4 other A&M, Arkansas, Ole Miss State. I think every one of the 4 could sit there and tell you, man, like we could lose. It's still Auburn. They've got talent. They've got a good coach. So great question. I think I think they have a turnaround season. I don't know about really shocking the West this year. I'm kind of like Z. I'm probably more leaning towards 2 than 3 though. I do think with the recruiting, I mean they still got to get them on campus, but yeah, I think they're going to bounce back in a couple of years, but maybe not this exact year. DP, you want to touch base again on your Auburn? You already drilled them once.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think y'all both said it good. It could, at best, I think it's a turnaround that they maybe knock off a big boy by surprise, but I don't think it's going to be Alabama in the Iron Bowl. I should say a bigger boy, not the big boy of the West. Like I could see him beating LSU if LSU has like maybe a receiver injury or something like that. Maybe a big linebacker get hurt, something, and they play him. You know how those games are. But I don't think they'll beat Alabama. I don't think they'll even be a thought in the contention for the West. But I think they have plenty of potential to be a good football team. So a turnaround, yes. The old Auburn, no.
And look, guys, if you're listening, we're based out of Mississippi. A lot of the following started down in the South. So all 3, besides the Hawaii question, of course, all 3 are big SEC questions. We didn't pick this. We do love hammering the SEC, but the next 2, I'm going to just collab them together because they're pretty similar. One of them, Collins Brown, great friend of the pod, always a liker, retweeter, listener. He says, what's y'all's one sleeper team in the East and West? And I'm going to tie in the other question, Dustin Lauder, another great friend of the pod, big supporter. He says, most overrated team and underrated team in the East and the West. So, most underrated is basically Colin's question, the one sleeper out of the East and West. So we'll start off. We'll go most underrated team in the East. And I think me and Z will be on the same page here after hearing their win total is 6. And hate to reiterate everything, but South Carolina and Vegas is sleeping on them to go 500. I just think that's really disrespected. I think the 2 big guys are, like we said, the bigger ones, like LSU and Bama on the east side are going to be Tennessee and Georgia. Don't think Kentucky's really underrated. I don't think Devin Leary is going to be their, big answer. I think it'll be okay. Florida's obviously not underrated. Vandy's not underrated. And Mizzou, I don't think is really underrated. I think the only other argument you could have maybe is I've seen Mizzou catching a little hype. But as far as on the big scale of, which one of these teams could really, do something crazy like 9-3, we're talking, I think, South Carolina. And I don't want to hammer them. We already talked their whole schedule and everything like that. But yeah, I think South Carolina's my underrated in the East. Z's nodding like a damn bobblehead, so I'm assuming he's on the same train.
Yeah, it's pretty easy for me. I think South Carolina is going to be very, very good. They're going to be, they're extremely talented on both sides of the football. They have the quarterback situation figured out, which is a huge deal in college football and NFL football. So, yeah, they're the most underrated, especially with their win total being at 6. I think that's low, and especially coming off how they ended, bringing a lot of guys back. Yeah, South Carolina.
I'm with you. I don't think any of the teams under South Carolina jump out to me as being underrated or overrated. Florida, I think, is not going to be good again. Kentucky's going to be mid-table again. Missouri and Vandy are not going to be good. So I think the only right answer is South Carolina for the East. I don't think you can say Tennessee is underrated. I think that's probably going to be my pick for overrated team just because of who they've lost. So I guess y'all can go off
roll
that.
into that.
Yeah.
Roll into that. Overrated Tennessee.
Yeah. I don't think that they're going to be a bad team, but I think out of the East, they're probably the most overrated just because people are putting their win. What was their win total at? Over under
9.5, I think.
9?
9.5, I think.
9.5. So they're only expecting them to lose 2 games. So they lost a quarterback. Obviously, so did Georgia, but Tennessee and Georgia are not the same, right? Georgia's won 2 national championships back to back. Tennessee, they beat Alabama last year. That was great. It was a fun game to watch. Wild night, but are they the best team in the East? No. Could they slip up and lose to South Carolina? Yes. I don't see Georgia slipping up there. So that's why I would say they're overrated out of the East because that's the only team, like I said earlier. Last year, we could have said Florida was overrated. This year, I think they're well rated. Everybody else, same old, same old.
Z, what you got overrated in the East?
Yeah, I agree with Joe on Tennessee. I'm going to go Georgia. I obviously they're very good. So it's not like by me saying they're overrated that they're not going to be a good football team. It's just for them to not be considered of having a good year, it's winning the national championship. So anything less than them winning the national championship, whether that's in-house at Georgia or how the media has built them up, that's a down. It's not their year. So how everybody's talking about them, what they're rated as, is they're going to win a third national championship in a row, and I just don't see that happening. So I'm going Georgia overrated.
Yeah, and dude, that's such a good and people are gonna have to, you can't just hear, okay, Z picked Georgia, most overrated team in the East. If you cut it off at that, you're gonna call Z and me because I'm following that. I'm going Georgia. You call us dumbasses, but when you really get into it, I just don't think because they're at 11.5, aren't they?
Yeah, I saw 11 or 11 and a half.
Yeah, and I mean 11, I could kind of deal with.
Guys on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Music, you won't be able to see this, but sometimes it freezes up. And it upsets me greatly. So whenever they start talking again, you're going to see me say, "Hey,"
Where'd you lose me?
like right when you started talking about Georgia. It's okay. I explained to all the YouTube peeps that this is what comes with
Hey,
making a podcast via Zoom.
that's the dude's effect. No, like I said, I'm following Z. All right, I just think you can make a case for Georgia or Tennessee. Uh, but as far as Georgia goes, overrated. They're only overrated because they're predicted to basically be perfect. Okay, that's the only reason I'm saying they're overrated. I think if more talk was saying that this year does feel like they could actually slip up and lose one. Last year, that was the case. I think 15-0 was the favorite in Georgia. I mean, it just was. They were that good, but to replace Stetson Bennett, who we dogged him, but he still, like I said, he was an experienced guy. He understood what his job was and what he had to do to win, but had a defense that was unreal. They'll be good again. They lose a couple guys, but they can replace them. I just think if it was more like an 11 win total, or like I said, people were talking about them possibly losing, it would be fitting. But for them to just predict again 12-0 automatic playoff spot, it's more than likely going to happen, sure. But I don't know. I just think they're a little. I think this year they deserve to catch a little, just a hair of, hey, they might lose that Tennessee game, or South Carolina wakes up on the right side of the bed. Who knows what could happen? So I don't know. I think it sounds dumb, but I think it's got to be Georgia or Tennessee. But they're also the only two that are really rated high. Like it's hard to say Kentucky's overrated when what are they 7-5, maybe an 8-4 prediction. So yeah, I think it's Tennessee or Georgia's definite answer. Who's our who's overrated in the West?
I mean, I love to hate on them, so I'll say it. I think Alabama right now is overrated because they don't have the QB room figured out. Did you just shake your head, Z? No, whatever, man. Whatever.
Yeah, I like when Z gets fired
I
up.
don't care. Yeah, they're gonna be good, but I don't think that they're gonna return back to the playoffs this year. That's all I'll say. And I think that's their standard, just like you said about Georgia. Like that's their standard every year. I think not going to the playoffs, which a lot of national media, when they have them underrated, it's just because they're not paying attention. Because they see what Georgia's in the last 2 years. If you look on an ESPN something or something hosted by the SEC, whatever, and they're saying, yeah, I don't think Alabama's going to be good this year. They say that every year. Okay, regardless of if Tua or Jalen Hurts are behind center or Bryce Young, they're going to say that. I think this year you actually have reason to say they don't have a quarterback in the quarterback room right now. At least that we've visually seen, even at practice. Like they're saying the guy can't even hit receivers at practice. We talking about practice. So I'll go Alabama, and I just love to hate on them. And I'm sure you guys are going to have different answers. So that's great.
Hey, look, a team I love to hate on, and it's taken me a lot not to do it. I don't think Arkansas. I guess maybe not on my Twitter feed or something. Arkansas.
Okay, no, oh no, okay, no, take it back. Arkansas is severely overrated this year. Severely overrated, and they'll probably beat Ole Miss, but their fans think that they are going to the playoff, or that they have a real legitimate chance to go to the playoff. Am I wrong, or have we just gotten sucked
No,
into
you're right.
Arkansas Twitter
That
so
was going to
much?
be mine.
And I think
Arkansas was going to be mine. I just looked at it while you were talking about Alabama just to make sure I was just remembering correctly. But I looked at two different articles just now that were predicting their schedule. One said 8-4, one said 9-3. I mean, that's just extremely overrated in my opinion. Yeah, KJ Jefferson's a good football player, but he can't throw the ball. They're going to be able to block. They're going to be able to power run. They're going to be good on defense the first month of the season, and then they're going to break down. I just don't see it being any different than it usually is with Arkansas. Yeah, though a couple years back they surprised a lot of people, but last year wasn't any different. So 8-4 is a stretch, I think. I think it's a 6-6, 5-7 football team.
Yeah, and look, as much as I want to bury them, and I think I'm just going to save it for the regular season because as we know, I have an absolute war with Fayetteville, and I love it because I can't stand them. I'm going to spin it a different way, and I'm going to kick myself in the ass for saying this. The more I dive into them, because the other night I was up and I just wanted to keep looking at them and analyze it more and more. LSU. All right, I just want to look. You can argue Florida State got lucky beating them last year. That's fine. At best, all we knew LSU was going to force overtime. So I'll leave that at that. Mississippi State had them by the throat. They get out of there with a win. Arkansas in Fayetteville, they barely sneak out of there with a win. All right, they get the doors blown off by Tennessee. They beat a bad Auburn by 4. They beat Bama on a 2-point conversion in overtime, and then they lose to A&M. So, I mean, and you can argue the same way. You can argue, the Florida State game. What were they? They were a play away from going, 11-1 or not 11-1, 10-2 because they lost A&M. So you can argue both sides of it, but I don't know. I think LSU they had some bad luck, but they also had some good luck. Like I said, State had them close. They get out of there. They sneak out of Arkansas. They sneak by Auburn. They had some stuff go their way. The 2-point conversion against Bama goes their way. So, I mean, I don't know. I think they're going to have to prove it to me. They're going to do it back-to-back years and need to really realize, okay, the big-time LSU is back. Like, they're going to have to compete with Bama again. They're going to have to not have that fluky L against Texas A&M, who was clowned all year. So I don't know. I'm gonna go LSU, and like I said, I might be kicking myself in the ass for it, but I might look pretty smart.
No, I agree. LSU was right there for me too. It's just I don't know. They're predicted to make the playoffs and possibly be a national champion. I mean I just don't. I mean that's a lot. I mean yeah, they're going to be talented and
Y'all would have been saying the same thing after Joe Burrow's junior year.
yeah, exactly. I mean yeah.
That's all
So
I'm saying. Like everybody, he lost that bowl game to UCF. I know that. LSU might have more hype than they did that year before the season this year.
they do. They do.
But yeah, I think that they're going to be really good. But y'all know I'm high on them. I think Jaden Daniels
Yeah,
is one of the better
that's
quarterbacks
It's
in
just
college
can Jane
football.
Daniels stay healthy because after him they don't got anything.
Yeah.
but like I feel like this year, and let me pull up their schedule real quick. But I feel like honestly, 9-3 would be they were overrated. The way the way the talks coming into this year, like you said, there's talks of playoffs.
Yeah.
And honestly, before I really got into it, I think they're going to be good. I think they'll finish top 15, maybe sniff that 10 area. But I just can't. I never even thought that was a thing about playoff. I really didn't. I got Florida State to open, like we said. That's going to be a banger. Should be on paper. Go to State, Arkansas at home, to Ole Miss, to Bama. So yeah, I mean, I think 9-3 is a letdown. For being honest, there's
The way they're getting talked about and how they even talk about themselves, yeah, it would be a letdown.
out of the East, they got Florida and Mizzou.
Should be 2 wins, but hey.
And Arkansas is tricky. They catch them at home. They get Auburn at home. They got to go to both Mississippi schools. So I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not easy.
I think 9-3 is like a letdown the way they're being talked about. But I do like I don't want to get it twisted. I think they're going to be a good football team. I just like you. I'm glad you brought that up when you said playoff, and even when I heard it, I don't know. In my eyes, when you have honestly the if you go Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, USC, I'm putting them light years ahead to make the playoff than LSU. Honest, and partially because of who LSU has to play. It's gonna be tougher to get in. Most of those teams have to win one, maybe 2 games, honestly. So I don't know. It's the last one. Oh, slept on in the West. Easiest question of the night. Somebody else can start.
Mississippi State.
Yeah, started Z.
Yeah. I know I was just shitting on them like a segment ago, but just looking out of the entire SEC West, I think Mississippi State is the most underrated team. I mean, their win total is like 5.5. I mean, I think they're going to make a bowl game. They're bringing back a lot of talent. They're bringing back a quarterback who can sling it, and then everybody else just within the West, nobody's really underrated. I think Ole Miss is perfectly rated, and Auburn's right there. That you could say Auburn's underrated, but that's just a lot to ask with a new coach, pretty much a whole new program coming in there. So yeah, I think Mississippi State is underrated. I think they can win 6, 7 games and make a bowl.
I can't get worked. I'm just not deep enough in these cans, but it's going to come out at some point. I'd say in the next 6 weeks. But the return, and I preach it, and I always do, but the returning experience on both sides of the ball. And this year, you had to have it for Mississippi State, right? First year head coach, nothing better than for him to have 20 seniors / super seniors. Awesome. You got a guy in the pocket, like you said, has been doing it for a long time. He's thrown for 10,000 yards, 80 plus touchdowns. Like he gets football. He's also an X and O guy. So Barbe changing the offense, I think Will's the perfect guy to be back there to learn it. You got some guys that have been playing with him since he came in, a running back, a receiver. I think that adds a lot. Picked up a couple transfers at DBs to replace Emerson and those guys. Like I think the DBs back-to-back years with them going, some first rounders. Now I think that's my scariest thing is how long can this Cam Dantzler, Martin Emerson, and Forbes, it's been one each year the past 3 years. And now the DBs, I think, is my scariest thing. But there's some dogs, and every year someone pops up. And I think the defense can hold up. I'm not scared of the offense changing. I think hindsight, if you're a guy in the middle of, I don't know, Colorado, and you hear about, everyone knows Mike Leach and he's air raid, and now you change offenses, it sounds scary. But to have a guy that's done it for 4 years, I don't think this could have played out a better. It's a horrible situation, but as far as playing out and changing offense, doing everything, it happening this year could be the biggest blessing in disguise of Mississippi State football. And I hate to say it that way, but you've got to have some experience. Like if we had a freshman or a transfer having to come with the OC, or like a Tyler Buckner, how he's coming in with Bama, like no one's confident that you just can't be. So you get a new head coach, sure, that's a new face. But everyone in maroon and white knows who Will Rogers is, right? We've trusted him for years, and I cannot fathom the fact they think we're not going to go 6-6. Like it'd be if we were at 7 win total, that would be in my mind. That's like the number, or maybe even 6.5, and then you lose money if you go even. But to be at 6 on the dot, like if we go 5-7, first off, we go 5-7, I'm gonna be out of pocket for a while. Second off, I'm gonna be broke. And third off, I'll just be simply shocked. So that's the most slept on team in the SEC. Hope the DBs step up. 2 great linebackers, good D line, experienced O line, decent skills guy, got the quarterback. My only worry is a little bit of DBs and probably a hair of the offensive scheme coming from App State into the SEC. But I'm ready. I'm ready for the ride.
I'll go Auburn, but I want to talk about State. And the reason I'm saying Auburn is just because they're coming with a new coach. I think their morale is low. I think they're going to overachieve whatever they do. So that's why I'm going to say they're underrated. But for State, I'm on the opposite end of that. And it's not because, I'm very neutral, a very neutral talker. if I go to Starkville and hang out with my family, or if I go with Bubba, I don't wear all my Ole Miss stuff. I'm not one of those guys. I wear like a SEC shirt or a white or maroon polo, just regular. All right. Got a bunch of family. My whole set of in-laws is state. My whole mom's side of the family is state. After that, I'm on the opposite side because I think it's really, really hard to bring in a new offensive scheme with a quarterback that's been doing it so well in a different scheme. Are y'all frozen or are y'all both just looking at? Okay, y'all both.
I'm just
I'm
pondering.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Just listen.
I'm intrigued.
I think returning all those seniors will be good, especially because Arnett's been there and the defense is going to be strong. I have no doubt about that because it's been strong. He's a defensive guy. I mean, I can't look at a time where I've been an Ole Miss fan growing up and I was like, I'm more worried about State's offense in the Egg Bowl than their defense. Maybe Dak Prescott, but even then, we had a good defense, so I wasn't worried. The defense has always been the strong point, so I'm not super worried about the defense. Like Bubba said, they have a revolving door of first rounders in the defensive back position. I think that people see that and they want to go there. So I think that they're still going to be strong on the defensive side. That's where they produce their most talent in the NFL. You look Fletcher Cox, Cam Dantzler, I know the lineman, Jeffrey Simmons. There's more. All right. But every guy that you look at besides Dak Prescott, who I'll get into him in NFL, but I won't rip him a new one today. I think that that's their best side of the ball, and it's going to continue to be their best side of the ball. And I mean, for as long as me, Bubba, and Z have been alive, it's been their best side of the ball. So I don't worry about them there, especially with Zach Arnett being, I mean, yeah, he's the head coach now, but what do you think he's primarily doing during practice? He's over there with the defense, making sure everything's running smooth. So I would trust Will Rogers as a State fan. But with the sudden emergency aspect of Mike Leach passing away, you bring in these coaches. Yeah, you've had almost a year to work on it, but integrating a whole new system is different. And I think Mike Leach got lucky with Will Rogers coming in as a freshman because he wanted him specifically for the air raid. So it's like, this is what you're going to do. You're going to grow up in this system. You're going to perfect it. And I mean, if you look at his numbers, I don't think that he could have found a better quarterback for the air raid offense. But now you're having to calm him down. You're having to hand the ball off more. I think early on we're going to see a few of those because you can run it in practice as many times as you want, but in a game it's a little different. So I think we'll see probably a couple fumbled handoffs in the first game. I think obviously that'll be fixed quick. But as far as schemes and stuff go, I think it's going to be a little different to interact or whatever, counteract into the scheme early on. But I think they will fix it by mid-season. But I think they're perfectly rated because of that. Like now, it used to be defense can win games. Now you got to have offense to win games in the SEC. Like we used to talk about how tough the SEC was defensively, but there's shootouts every week in the SEC now. So
That's fair.
Sorry,
And
I went on.
counter. I got to counter just a hair.
I'm sorry I went on a tangent. I know you're going to counter. You
Hey,
have
I
to.
love it.
You
I
have
love
to.
it. I've got it. Yeah, I've got to counter. The only thing I'll say, and you didn't mention this. This is just some stuff I've seen, mainly State fans.
Yeah.
Will Rogers is not about to be put under center. Will Rogers is not about to be rolling out of the pocket 20 times a game. Like we are changing schemes, but I'm not. There's going to be play action, obviously, and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
he's not. I feel like some people are thinking, "Oh my God, air raid. He's not going to throw it 55 times. Now it's going to be, play action this, play action that, inside zone, outside. There's going to be mixed in, but it's definitely not going to be like 1990 hard nose I formation, stuff like that." And the only other counter I want to say is, like, I honestly think, which obviously I know, like, I'm in the no State's roster more than most, but like, I think it's going to favor. We lose Dylan Johnson to Washington, the running back, but the other running back that stayed, I think he stayed because Barbay, like, he wants to do. He's an inside zone, a counter kind of guy, and I also think, 3 or 4 of our linemen that we saw, we had some struggles with the line. I think these guys are ready to. They would rather show off the firing off the ball and run blocking more. Like pass blocking all game for an offensive lineman is such an underrated deal. Like you're having to wait on this 350 pounder to come at you, make the moves, the footwork. Now these big boys, some of them are going to get to fire off the ball and go pancake a guy, right? So I think some of the stuff is also gonna. Don't get me wrong, yeah, there could be some fumbles on the play actions or hand up whatever, but I think some of it too is gonna be like, damn, like where was this when Leach was here? But it just wasn't his scheme. And I also think third year Leach got more run balance in some games. We saw like, wow, State ran the ball for almost 200 yards. Like Arkansas and A&M last year, probably our two best wins, I'd say, as far as like dominating the whole game. And those were two games where we ran the ball a lot better than we did. So I think it's almost going to favor them as far as balancing, but they still got to be able to run it. So I do agree that changing a scheme with 19 to 23-year-olds is never going to be easy, especially when
Yeah.
they ran. So I see
agree.
both sides.
I agree with a lot of what you said as well, but I will double counter and say I think that a lot of their running games that they did so well was because it's just like when KJ Jefferson has a good passing game. I think it's because the other team is expecting the pass, or
Yeah,
for
it's
y'all,
kind of
they're
like set
expecting the
up
pass.
somewhere.
For the other team, they're
Yeah.
expecting the run. But I'm not as worried about him having to change formations for like a first down play action, because I think a lot of y'all's stuff, y'all still run out of the shotgun. Like
Yeah,
run stuff, but you can't run if you're changing schemes and I would assume you're a smart coach. You're not going to run the ball from shotgun third and short. You're going to get in the I formation, and when you're third down in the I formation or some kind of formation, and it's loud as hell wherever you are, it's a little different because, I mean, we've obviously never played in that scenario, but we've been in the stadium, and being 20-something-year-olds, we can understand like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of pressure.
right. And I think that's where I go back to, like, I am so grateful that year
For the
one is
veterans.
an X and O guy who's been watching film since sixth grade with his dad. Like, he's just such a football. Like, Will Rogers is gonna be a football coach, no doubt. Like, I think he'll be a backup or something like that. Like third, fourth string NFL guy, maybe. I don't even know. Like, he's tiny. He can't run. Like, but he is going to be such a good X and O guy. He just gets it. He just gets football. So that's the only thing. I'm thankful it's him, and it's not. I'm excited for the next quarterback, Chris Parsons, but I'm glad he's not playing this year.
I think if
Lord
Rogers decides to go to the NFL and he's a backup or a third string or whatever for however many, hey, you never know. The kid could go out and be a starter one day.
I would
But
say he's going to have a baseball hat on more than a helmet if he goes in.
I was going to say, when his career is over, I think he's going to be a heck of a coach somewhere if he wants to be.
Agree.
But if he goes to state, I hope he's terrible at it. Respectfully.
Hey.
Come on. I said respectfully. You'd say the same thing if he was a rebel.
I can't wait till he fucks y'all up.
I won't say anything about that because we're
fine. Too far. I don't even want to think about the Egg Bowl. I don't even want to wish the season away.
I don't even want to get near that toxicity yet.
It's what Southeastern Louisiana is on my mind, son. That's who we open with.
Bubba loves the toxic relationship. I don't enjoy it as much.
I know. I wish you were mean.
I don't like it.
Yeah,
I just want everybody to be friends.
dude, good game. I hate it. Oh, that's all I got. Do we want to dive into those questions from last week or save them?
Oh,
We got
yeah.
Yeah,
No, let's
or
hit
do it
'em.
next week.
I know this
Nah.
is a long episode. Let me hit them. I'm glad you said that though, because I almost forgot.
We've been rambling. We got out of it me being absent. That was on me. Fucked up.
Oh, he's good. First two games of Messi. This is from Brooks Italiano. Cool dude. Went to MC. I know. I think he went to Colin before that. Played baseball. He listens to the pod, obviously, or you wouldn't be asking questions. Just shout out to him.
There you go.
He said first two games of Messi. I assume that's for me. I know you guys don't watch the football very much. For those who don't know, Messi is the greatest soccer player of all time. There's debate, but who cares? I think he's the greatest soccer player of all time. And he recently transferred to Inter Miami, which is an MLS team. So for you U.S. soccer fans, if you go down to Miami, you can watch the greatest ever lace them up. And he scored a free kick last minute. His first game, won the game. And then I think he had an assist and 2 goals or something crazy like that. The second game, I didn't watch the second one. But yeah, I mean, there's not too much to say. It's kind of like when you talk about Jordan or LeBron playing basketball. It's just, I mean, it's magic at work. right? Like you're watching the game, the guy who's 40, about to be 40, comes in playing with all these young guys, and he's like, "Hey, watch this free kick, golazo. Thank you for playing." Guy's just a legend. I think it's awesome. Before he retires, I want to make it down to Miami and go watch him play. Also, World Cup coming to the U.S., Mexico, and Canada in a couple of years, so that'll be fun. MLB trade deadline predictions. I guess we're a little late on that one. I'm sure some people would have probably said the Angels would have traded Shohei Ohtani by now, but that didn't happen. So, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Z is very upset about the Angels because they're spending so much money. Got Lucas Giolito. I definitely didn't see that one coming. Z, go ahead, hammer him.
Yeah, I just think that was dumb. I
Even
think
though they beat the Bravos the other day, and y'all beat us today.
yeah, and we beat you yesterday. I just think it was stupid as an organization. I think you could have gotten so much. You could get so much. You could get whatever you wanted for him. You were obviously going to get whoever you trade him to. You were going to probably get their top 3 prospects at the least, and you were going to get MLB guys back. That was going to be part of the trade. Um, I just think you could have sat him down, kind of had a conversation with him, like, look, we're going to move you not because we don't want, and he's a free agent after this year, so they always had the chance of signing him back. I think they took the approach of let's buy and see if we can, make a run for this third wild card spot in the AL, which isn't bad because if you're the third wild card team, you play the winner of the AL Central, and the AL Central sucks. So, I mean, if the Angels get in a series with the Twins, I'd like the Angels, especially, but at the time, it was like I would have moved him. Um, Giolito we shelled him today. He's
I
just
just want to say before you keep going, you can't really sit him down and tell him, because he doesn't speak English.
he is interpreter.
I'm just saying.
But yeah, I mean, I would have moved if I was the GM. I would have said, "Look, we're gonna move you for, you know, the last 2 months of the season. We're gonna try and get some MLB guys back and top prospects who are close and ready, and then we're gonna build a better team. We'll still have Trout, blah blah blah, this, that, and the third, and then you offer them a bunch of money in the offseason. They went to the approach where they're going to add Giolito, you add CJ Crone, you add Randall Grichuk. I think that had a couple other guys as well, a couple pen arms. But look, we'll see how it plays out. Like I said, if you get the third wild card spot, that's a good matchup. You get Trout back, and now you're looking at a lineup where it's I think Rendifo is a good little speedy contact power guy that got hitting at the top. So you're going what?
Yeah, he's been playing well lately too.
Yeah, so if Trout comes back, you probably throw Trout in the 2 hole and let Shohei at third. So you're going, Trout, Shohei, CJ Crone, Randall Grichuk, Mickey Moniak's been swinging it well. They got Joe Adell, who they keep bringing up and sending down. He's leading AAA in home runs. So you never know. I think they're just their idea and their goal now is to make a run, show Shohei they're serious about being a playoff team, and hope that that's enough for him to take their $500 million offer. So you never know.
I think this kind of symbols to me that there has to have been a conversation from Shohei that said if we don't make it anywhere this year that I'm not going to stay, because I think they might have sat him down, said, "Hey, we want to sign you again, but we think we can make it a better team." He doesn't care about that. He just wants to win now, I think, and he probably just said, "If we don't win, I'm gone," and they're trying to make the effort to win. I would think, but how MLB, NFL, how every sports GM is. They're not as smart as us podcasters.
Yeah, exactly.
You never know.
One thing I will say that I feel like some of the just regular fans or just people out there kind of miss is Shohei wasn't a draft guy. He signed as a free agent out of Japan. So when he came out of Japan, he chose to sign with the Angels over a lot of other teams. So there was a reason from the jump that he decided to sign with the Angels. So they know that. They know they've got something that not a lot of other teams offers that Shohei likes. So they're going to try and prove to him that they're committed to winning, and they're going to make a run and hope at the end of the day he decides to come back and pair up with Mike Trout for the rest of their careers.
I would love that for sure. Oh,
What
yeah.
we got?
We got any more?
He had one more. It was Saints over and under 10 wins. I'll be a homer right now. I mean, obviously we're going to dive into this later, but I'll say over. Derek Carr.
Yeah, we'll dive into it
Michael
later. I'm gonna
Thomas,
say
maybe.
under, but
You knew that was coming. You knew that was coming. That's it though. That was 3 questions.
What a long episode.
It was. It was. It was a good one.
yeah, it was a good one.
Chop it up. Chop it up. Well, fellas, Jiffy, school night.
Yep. About to
You
get
nervous?
Whip
take a
them kids
shower,
into
get in the
shape.
bed, and get ready to talk about some syllabus or something tomorrow. U.S. government starts
You nervous?
Friday. I'm not nervous, dude. I just freaking last year my classes were like all grades. So like the freshmen didn't want to act out in front of the seniors or the juniors, but now it's just freshmen.
Folks.
I don't know if I like that.
You got your first day fit laid out or what?
I'm dressing real professional, man. Button down khakis, some Chelsea boots. I might throw on a blazer for tomorrow, you know.
Wow.
I'm a young looking guy. I'm not the tallest. So
Blazer
I have
and
to set myself apart or otherwise they think I'm another student.
That's fair.
Yep.
First
Yeah, that's-
week, first 2 weeks, you got to dress to the 9 to assert your dominance.
Fair.
After that, khakis, hoodie, whatever. You know, once it gets cold, I'm a casual teacher. You know,
And
khakis have to be worn every day. Golf pants
Regular hoodie.
sometimes. I like a good golf pant fit, but I'll be dressed to the 9 tomorrow. I'll be sure to send you a picture.
I'm fiending for a hoodie weather.
Me too, man.
Me too. It's been
Sometimes I'll just throw the AC down a little bit, just throwing on,
I don't hate that.
just to feel the comfort.
just to feel it, just gives you that football fall feel.
Mm.
Well,
Yeah.
dude, that's all I got.
It's been a pleasure. Y'all tune in. Tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your sister,
Tell your friends, mom.
tell your friend's mom that you think she's hot and to listen to the pod.
Well
We'll
said,
catch you on the
Jake.
next one.
See y'all, boys.
Peace.